Good morning, everybody. I'm Simon Holden of Holden's Horses fame, and that is the judge of Judge Fame. And we are here for another Monday morning. Start your week with a bang. 5 horses for those trackers, 5 future winners, 5 horses that you need to have on your radar. Well, Judge, I wasn't going to mention our joint tip on Friday night. We'll come to that race very soon, but let's just say we have been on the HFC naughty step and just weekend just got off it. So combined apologies for that horror show. Yes, we'll come to that race. Yeah, what can you say? Sorry seems to seem the hard. I can't even say it. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. Right, Judge. Let's move on, mate.
I want to say something. This time last week, it was all doom and gloom in the game, wasn't it? This time last week. But what a weekend of racing we had, didn't we, this weekend?
Yeah.
We saw some fantastic performance. And it just shows you should all be about the horses. Let's run them. They're good horses. And they're blimmin' it. It was lovely to see and talk about some quality action, wasn't it? Anyway.
Yeah, and on Friday, it all kicked off with that Titanic hurdle race between the two old Champ and Paisley, which I still wish. Not that I'm against Champ, but I think everyone was wishing Paisley was going to reel him in. He nearly did. And I haven't seen that horse travel like that for about 3 years. So he actually traveled.
Yeah, he did.
So Paisley is no back number. That was great. That was brilliant. Yeah, and racing. We could talk about the racing, not about Endo and all that lot.
It's nice to talk about something positive for a change, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so. Except our Friday tip, but we'll come to that.
Well, we'll come to that later on because I think that's one of the performances of the weekend. Obviously, we'll come to that race later.
Yeah. Now let's kick off in World Cup week with your first duel, please, Judge.
My first duel ran in the second race at Navan yesterday, and I think, like we kept saying, Roy Orbison with his glasses on could have spotted this one. I really thought this was a good novice hurdle, and the winner, Grange Clare West, looks like it could well be certainly got to be graded state. I wouldn't be too surprised we're looking at a possible contender at Cheltenham. But the fourth in this race was called My Trump Card. First time for Gordon Elliott, first time out. It was an unbelievable run. He must have been about 25 lengths behind the main pack, not the main pack, but the leaders turning into their own straight. And under, let's say, a kind ride, obviously first time out, Davy Russell, this all stayed on really strongly. He nearly come second. I mean, you wouldn't have been a million to come second, coming towards the last. Any kind of progress from this first run, and we're talking about horses not just win a maiden hurdle or a novice hurdle. This is a graded horse. To do that on its first start was some run. It doesn't have any bumpers or anything like that. So My Trump Card is an ace horse to follow, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it didn't get on the deck, did it?
Hey, very good.
Hey, thank you very much. It's early as well. Readers of the HFC email will know that yesterday I tipped Grange Clare West as part of a double dipper. I could not believe, and on Racing TV they said an alarming late drift in the betting, and it was from a shade of odds on out to 2-1. Even went out to 5-2 on the Magic Machine. Now, I was told on Friday that Grange Clare West was one of the top 3 Mullins novice hurdlers. Now, if that is remotely true, it had to go in first time up. I was mega impressed, and it just shows you sometimes these late drifts are completely wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Townend appeared on the scene and basically walked past 2 very good horses.
Yes.
And the point I would make about that is I think you're spot on with the fourth there. Don't rule out the second and third next time they appear either. And get this Grange Clare West on your Cheltenham mind, because he put a good feel to the sword. I mean, if you were on, as I was, a terrifying leap at the last from Townend where the horse came out of his hands and, he jumped like as he's jumping Beecher's Brook. Very, very significant race, I think we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I think there was a couple there at Navan yesterday. I think the juvenile hurdle was a good race as well.
Yeah,
It's strange sometimes you see these races, you call that as a good race. But for me, like I say, I think there have been 4 or 5 winners come out of that particular race, the Grange-Clear West race. And
what
my truck car with some run on debut, he hasn't even had a run anywhere.
Very, very, very impressive. And I tell you what, we'll see on these Sundays now up until like the new year. We'll see Elliott and Mullins start to bring out the heavy artillery.
Yes.
We've seen them winning races, but they will now. Mullins does not like running his Cheltenham lot before late November. History tells us that. And we'll see Grange-Clear West, I suspect, once more. Sometime in February, and then we'll see him at Cheltenham or Aintree. I suspect we'll see him at Cheltenham in the 2 mile 5. He's got the pace to come back to 2 miles, but yeah, hugely impressive. And I think my trump card will be winning a decent novice Sunderland. You might get a price because I don't think people realise just how.
I would be inclined to if he gets up in class. Even I can see it running well in good races. That's some performance.
Right, my first one. I'm going to go to the. I keep calling it the Hennessy. It is, of course, now the Coral. Why they change the names of these things year in, year out. But it is a huge race. 250,000 added, 142 grand to the winner. And firstly, to mention the winner, Le Milos, was a incredible late gamble for the Skeltons. Fair play. When you see a horse bet like that, and Dan Skelton came on ITV, and anybody who hadn't backed it was severely tempted to get on the old blower to the bookie because he basically said he thought it would win.
Yeah.
Now, there's cocky and then there's going out and doing it. So I have my issues with that yard at times, but Harry Skelton, I thought, rode one of the great aggressive money down races because he took the race by the scruff of the neck, 3 out round the bend, and sort of said to the rest of them, catch me if you can. Now, Remastered and Jericho Rocket, and I want to mention them too because it's very important about the horse I'm going to mention. They came with a form line that I thought was mega, mega strong, and it proved to be from Cheltenham. Now, I had one of my biggest bets of the season on long-term fans of mine. That's a very small band, I realise, but long-term fans of mine will know how highly I rate Oscar Elite. Now, we have backed the horse when it finished second at Cheltenham at 40-1.
Yeah.
We backed the horse when it finished third at Cheltenham at 22-1. We got 33s again in the morning. Korak Rambler won that race, and this is really important because what I do, and I'm sure you do something similar. When I see a particularly strong handicap chase or hurdle, I have a sort of Premier League of form, and I put them, and I'll handicap the rest of the horses and the season around those races. Now, the Ultima handicap chase last year at Cheltenham Festival, won by Korak Rambler. Second was Jericho Roque, who of course was third on Saturday. Third was Oscar Elite. You had Lost in Translation was in that race. Frodon was 12th.
I think Our Power was a non-runner, wasn't it? That was in it as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. You had all the you had the likes of Vintage Clouds in there. Does He Know from Kim Bailey, which had been highly touted for that race. Let's be very clear. This was rock solid form. Now, I believed that Oscar Elite came here, Judge, with everything you need to land this race. The form, that idea of the second season chaser, I thought he was very well handicapped. And that form line proved to be spot on. Korak Rambler, whose ground was way too quick for, stormed through late on to get placed. I've just mentioned Jericho Roque. That form line with Remastered, which was second, that proved spot on as well. So I don't think I was wrong about the form. But let's be clear, yet again, Oscar Elite, and I'm not having to go at Harry Cobden because this has happened so often, it must be orders he's due. I got several angry messages, for once not at me, Judge, at Cobden about the fact that he rides Oscar Elite not just to the outside, he rides it in the middle of Newbury High Street, whatever adjective you want to use. He's done it at Cheltenham. It must be that the Tizzards believe this horse can't race with other horses. It can't be. Logic tells you, and I've used this analogy before with this horse, and I'm getting so fed up of it. If you were in a 200-meter race, you have on the outside, your start is staggered because athletics realizes it's unfair as you're about to turn. In racing, we don't have staggered starts. You all line up together. Well, although this was a pathetic start yet again of a big race. Farcical. Cobden, I'm watching going, please don't line up on the... and he didn't. He had the middle. First thing he did, exit stage right and get stupidly far out. Now, the first turn at Newbury is a tight left hand. So immediately he's outside turning and losing ground. He lost ground the whole way round. The horse moved up to go into contention round the bend, but unsurprisingly petered out. Now, you are not the only person who suggested a step back in trip. That's a logical thing. I don't think it's the fact he doesn't get the trip. I think he just can't keep giving ground to top horses in these big races. He nearly got away with it at Cheltenham, but he then got nabbed at the end by Korak Rambler, who, I mean, I know a private handicapper worked out how much further he thought Oscar Elite had run at Cheltenham that day, and that had he just run a similar path to Korak Rambler, he thinks he would have beaten it 8 lengths. So we're talking huge amounts at the end that he's wasted. Now, I'm not having to go at Harry Cobden because he's clearly doing it on purpose. You can't keep lining up on the wide outside by accident because connections would say, why do you keep doing that? The horse could not win on Saturday with those tactics. He's not that well handicapped.
No, that's right.
My point is now, they have to change tactics with this horse. They have to, if it's to do with going left-handed, they need to go for a big race right-handed. Yeah. If it's to do with the fact that he can't race around other horses for some reason, so he has to do a solo on the wide outside, why don't they lead with the horse? Then he won't be running with other horses, but he doesn't have to be 20 lengths to the right.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Surely connections have to do something. They can't keep doing what isn't working.
Well, yes, right. Yes, it's a definition of madness, isn't it? Keep doing the same thing that doesn't work. Yeah. So,
this isn't. I'm not monstering Cobden at all. I'm saying he must now be riding to very strict orders. And look, it's not working. So why not try something else with the horse? I believe that this horse has got a huge race in it, but not like this.
No, that's what. You wanted to bail out, didn't you? After about 2 jumps, you could see what was going to happen. I tipped it myself, so I love second season novices in a race like this. You could argue the winner wasn't it? I think from memory, I hadn't had many starts, but I was surprised how well that difference in going from sort of really heavy ground to faster ground. They certainly knew that what they had there, but like you said, on the Korak's Rambler and Jericho form line, he had to be thereabouts. He should have been in the first 5, but there again, he's come second in an Albert Bartlett as well, so you normally got to stay in that race, the 3-mile novice hurdle at Cheltenham. So it's not like he can't get the trip, and he handles the ground because he's been on good ground. So all the things were there for him to run a big race. He's been kept fresh. He had this nice little trial run over hurdles, hasn't he? He come there without a prep run. It was just a bit of a mess for a horse like you. I do think this is well handicapped. This horse, there is a good race in him. I think there's 2 things to do. I think you've mentioned both of them. Certainly worth a try going right-handed to see if that is the case they're worried about. But there again, he doesn't jump out that way because he doesn't jump to the right. And if you did jump to the right, you want to go to the left, don't you? You want to stick to the inside as much as you can. So I just said, like I said, I think it was a mess on Saturday. Whereas I think I think Davy Pipe got his connections bang right for the race. You've got to give it to him. They both had a hurdle run for a prep run, and they both run great races. They both ended up bumping into one that was well in. So he's had a perfect prep, whereas you probably could say the Tizzard stable didn't get their preps right. But there we go. We shall see. But come the end of the season, I'll be very disappointed this horse doesn't, like you say, pick up a decent race on the way.
But they need to.
It's not change tactics. Definitely, it's not. You can't win like that. You can't win a good race like that. You might win a novice.
No, you can. You cannot give the best or the top handicaps, which is the stream this horse runs in. You can't give them a free. It's giving them a free start at every turn. Every turn they're making ground on him, and he's just staying out there. It's impossible. But you're right. The handicapper can't put him up now. He's going to put the first three up.
He's got to drop him a couple of pounds for that run, surely, isn't he? So he can't. It's not like which we know he's quite well handicapped anyway. So he's probably going to drop to the mark he ran at Cheltenham on. Yeah. Anyway, we spent quite a long time on Oscar Elite, but I'm with you, mate. I felt your pain.
It's time for your second one as I finally get over the Oscar Elite horror show.
Right, shall I go on to my second one?
Yeah.
I'm going to the Friday at Newbury. There was a novice handicap chase which my boss's horse ran in, and didn't he run a race? Orc and Risk. Great, brilliant ride from Cannon. They jumped really well, the horse as well. I mean, I jumped really well, and basically got nabbed late on by a horse it beat in the I think it's the Lanzarote. I can't remember the name. The race at Kempton anyway. The novice grade 2 there. They come first and fifth that day, but he was obviously having to give a fair amount of weight to Freya Dams. But the time of that race was really quick, which was, especially for the rest of the card, it was that sort of told the story. But I really like the run of the third in the race. That's All Right, Gino. I mean, he's well behind jumping the last. He made a hell of a lot of ground up on the front too. Was a little, let's say, clumsy. He was a little bit slower than he needed to be over the fences, and I think the ground was a little bit too fast for him. He handles good ground. His previous run when he won at Chepstow, he made all and jumped beautifully that day round Chepstow, and that's a good track to jump round, especially for a novice like he did. And he beat Calico that day 7 lengths. And his previous run, he got beat by a horse called Boot Hill, who won an Ascot handicap very impressively the weekend before last.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, the Saturday before. That was a valuable handicap chase there. So he's got form lines here. They can't put him up for coming third in that. I will be surprised if this horse doesn't win a nice, bit more emphasis on stamina, a nice 2 mile handicap chase. And might get 2 mile 4, but I'd like to see him run over a stiffer track over 2 miles. Doesn't want it bottomless, he wants it sort of good to soft, something like that. This horse will win a nice chase, and this race will produce winners. But bear my views on that. I do think this is a good race going forwards.
Yeah, it was a strange race because there was plenty of pace on early, and I think he got tapped a bit, but absolutely flew home, didn't he? Up that long straight. Orc and Risk ran another belter. I think that's good, solid form. Yeah, but he really appeared out the back of the old TV, didn't he? And
he did, because there was fortune for the Hendo horse, wasn't there? And that made a mistake at the first. They must think that's well handicapped as well. So, going forward, I mean, the fourth had won a good novice chase at Cheltenham the time before. So I think there'll be winners coming out this race, but he's the one I wanted to take going forward, especially short term. I can see him popping up soon. Yeah.
No, I think I fully concur on that one. And I think that was a good race. And I'd love to see Risk in a big field really serve it up to him from the front.
Oh, didn't he serve it up? He ran a cracker. I mean, I think the third last, I thought he's got this because he opened a nice gap. But he just sort of slowed up going into the last, and the better handicapped horse picked him off. But it was a good race.
Right, I want to, for my second one, go to the final race, the rehearsal chase at Newcastle, the 325. Now, we covered that race.
We did.
Yeah. Well, we didn't cover ourselves in glory, but we covered that race. And I want to quickly mention before I go into my eye catcher, which again will be regarded as one of the bleeding obvious, but we both backed Eye Right. Now, I messaged you on Saturday, probably to see if we both were in touch with the Samaritans. With what I'll say now, and that is I hope that Connections retire Eye Right now, because that horse, I believe, has gone. He's only 9. But if you look, he's had so many big performances. And, when they go, Judge. And I would hate to see him
Yeah,
I would hate to
kind of
see
give him a rest now and put him away and like give him perhaps one more try when he's nice and fresh. Give him a rest, and then give him one more go. And if he doesn't fancy it, I kind of agree with you.
because you can only go to the well with him so often. I mean, he's run at Cheltenham. He hasn't missed any dances, and they're all grueling races. Even the ones he wins, they're grueling. Now, Small Yard is the stable star, and I'm sure they will want to persevere with him. But I'd hate to see him run too many more like that and be pulled up.
Yeah.
He should have been banged there, and he was beat. I think he sulked a bit when he lost the lead, but in years gone by, they haven't been able to get to him. But that pace has gone now, and I think he turned it in. So I really hope we don't. I love those, but I hope we don't see him on a racetrack again anytime soon. The winner, La Homme Press, we said if he was going to have any Cheltenham Gold Cup aspirations, he had to do it. And didn't he do it a shade cheekily? Made a horrible mistake at the sixth.
That's
Charlie
right.
Deutsch nearly came over the top of him. But what I was impressed about was after that mistake, he jumped. Always look at the very next fence. And he jumped it like an old hand. So that's a sign of a good horse. Straight back into the rhythm. I thought he won very, very cosily. And I'm not sure he's a King George horse, but I'm sure there's a big stain chasing him this year. Whether it's a Gold Cup, who knows?
It's definitely got to be top, isn't it? It's definitely because like you, I only won. He was quite close at the line, but for me, he won easily. He was never ever going to get beat, was he? After him, don't forget, it was his first run of the season. I mean, for example, if it's a handicap in terms of his next time out, with a £7 penalty, you'd back him, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I'd rather back him off top weight in big handicaps. Here in Ireland than.
But it's kind of been proven. I mean, it's uncanny that the real class horses like Frodon the other week, this one, even these top handicappers, the top ones seem to be just different class, don't they? Even well handicapped horses, but there you go.
You can still be a top horse winning big races off top weight. You don't have to.
Absolutely. Desi used to do it.
Yeah, well, you might be fifth. Why not? Why not win a Cheltenham handicap off top weight than be fourth or fifth in a Gold Cup? I would be asking them questions if I was part of the connection. But if they feel they can do that, I think he could be a bully of top handicaps. This horse. But he's not my one to follow. You can do it yourself. I think Into Overdrive, who I said, and I must call myself out here, I said, with what I knew at the time, I thought he was terrible bet at the prices.
I agree with you.
He ran a cracker in second.
He did.
Now, before that, he had won his previous 4 races. I thought he lacked really the class to be that. He'd won at Carlisle, he won at Hexham, he won at Perth, he'd won at Wetherby. The Wetherby race was a decent enough race. It was over 2.5 miles. And I thought he had something to prove stamina-wise. He beat a horse called Dublin 4, Coconut Splash. It's not the sort of form to make you purring at the thought of him winning a rehearsal. But he's taken his career to a whole new level on Saturday. And I do wonder if Jamie Hamilton maybe didn't ride him aggressively enough.
No, he might be listening to our podcast.
He kept. Maybe he had stamina doubts. I don't know, but I do think he should have been ridden more aggressively, and he was finishing with a real flourish, but he was too far back. He kind of used his gas up getting to them. When if he'd have been ridden nearer the pace, I'm not suggesting for a minute that he would have beaten the leader, but I do think he's going to go up now, but I do think there's plenty in the tank. And now he's proven that he sees out a thorough 3 miles. I don't know. I was thinking there's a big race at Wetherby, the Roland Merrick. Obviously, he's won at Wetherby, where they would go back on Boxing Day. Where they would go to Haydock for one of those staying chases. I think wherever he goes, he wants back in because he's a very shrewd trainer. And now he's completely proven that he's a 3 miler. So I think there's a big future for this one, Into Overdrive, and I think you will see him again over Christmas, maybe at Wetherby, maybe at Haydock, and I think he'll win.
He's at the right end of the handicap as well, isn't
Exactly.
he? I mean, the way he ran on Saturday, like I say, he's going to go up probably 3 or 4 at a guess. I'm just thinking. I'll be amazed if he's not good enough to win off that mark and then possibly win again. You know, he's the sort of type you can see winning a couple from that end of the handicap. I was also, when you don't fancy a horse and they really sort of there was no reason to say don't fancy. I didn't fancy him at the price. He's progressive, isn't he? It's not like he was. Yeah. It was out of the blue the run, but the point is he's still progressive, and I think that's something you've got to take on board. And also, when you're wrong about a horse, you've got to hold your hands up.
Mm.
Yeah,
you've got to do. Yeah, so I think it's a big future. Yeah, called that one wrong, but called it wrong then. Can call it right now and get with him. Right, Judge, your final selection.
Well, I'm about getting it wrong, but I also want to mention about the time we, and particularly you, got this one right. You had Harper's Brook on here a few weeks ago. You put up as a judge's jewel. Well done, and it won on Saturday. And also the same form line cops. Which was quite a nice result for me because I had the forecast up. But there's a horse. Well, I didn't really go to war in the race. There's a horse called Barrichello in the race who ended up coming third. But there was a Nichols horse that fell at the first and then caused carnage, basically. Nearly cleaned up 2 or 3 in the race, and Barrichello was one of them. Made a bad mistake later in the race. Basically, it was a bit of a mess of a race for the horse. So you could put it as a knockout run. It's got beat 7 lengths. Doesn't look a very good run, particularly on Saturday. But I'm just looking back at its previous run. Thunder Rock won the race at Uttoxeter. That came out and won an Ascot race easily the next time. Brief Times come out and won by 30 lengths, I think, at Fontwell the next time. Quanto de Mar, who was 5th, definitely come out and won a handicap hurdle. And on that basis, it sort of took me strength away from Harper's Brook a little bit. So I had sort of half my bet on it. But Landing Arbo Lad, I don't know if you watched the race at Carlisle yesterday. There was a novice chase round there. Jumped really well yesterday. That came second in what I call a decent novice chase. There was also rated 130 plus in that race. And that's come second. So everything that's come out of this novice handicap chase has run really well. And I thought Barrichello, that was a 2-mile race. Barrichello, for the McCain team, will definitely have a nice pot in him. He's already rated in the 130s. So he's going to be able to run in these decent, sort of valuable races. And I would be surprised if he's not got one of them better northern handicaps in him. Perhaps he might not be good enough to win one of the southern ones. And also preferably around the 2 miles. If this was a 2-mile 4 race, all his best form before have been over 2 miles. I like this horse. I didn't particularly like the run on Saturday, but the run before was some run. It's only got beaten 4 lengths by 2 horses that have gone on and bolted up since. Got a good yardstick in behind by 6 lengths. For me, it's well handicapped on that form. It's got beat 6 lengths on Saturday. The handicapper might drop him the pound he went up for finishing third. He's one to be with, mate. Barrichello, for a stable that's, let's be honest, banging in the winners, but no one's talking about them. The Donald McCain, it's lovely seeing him having a lot of winners again. It'd be nice to see him having a real good one again. Don't know what you think, because he's been in the wilderness for a while after what happened, losing his, the main owner and that. But he can train horses, the fella. So, so for me, I think there might be a nice pot in this. So keep your eye out for Barrichello.
Yeah,
let's hope he don't keep going round and round.
Exactly. He has dropped. Oh, I'm getting the echo. Yeah, good man. He's dropped a level, Donald McCain, and he's not winning the big races, but what he's doing is churning out lots of winners at that second tier, particularly in the north. So it's a very successful operation again. And he's brilliant. I really like that yard. And of course, Yuzi rides so many of them, doesn't he? I think that's a strong form line. You're right. I don't think he's going to get put up. And maybe we want to just mention Weatherby for Into Overdrive. I think Weatherby would suit that horse. Yeah. Left-handed, keep him at 2 miles, bit of cut. There's definitely wins in him. And Harper's Brook still looks an unfurnished type to me. And I think he's going to go on to much better things. As many in that yard seem to be doing. But there we go. 5 for your tracker there. Just on the half hour. Perfect. I hope everybody has a great punting week. And if you want to start it with a winner, why not do my double dipper? Available now under at the top link for a fiver. Last Monday, Judge, 53 to 1 double handed. I'm aiming to kick off the week with another Magic Monday, so get involved. Right, I will see you on Friday, Judge, where we will go back to our Friday night HHV the Judge, where we both need to improve on I Write, but I'm sure we will. It's going to be a great week. Get these 5 in your tracker, and I'm sure you've got 5 surefire winners to come. If that Oscar Elite starts racing a little bit nearer the rest of them. Right, have a great week. Cheers, Judge. Good luck this week, mate.
Bye, mate.
Bye, everybody. Be lucky.